Dear friends, so can we start? Samet, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning to all of you at the beginning of the first webinar this year. Very happy and proud that I can announce the fantastic record of all time we had. 40 national associations present on this webinar and 144 participated people. So from the players, coaches, table tennis officials, even some medical staff, mental coaches, fitness coaches as well. So also very proud that this time we shared our webinar together with the players. That's for the first time. We have around 30 in total, 32, I think, players all over Europe sharing the time with all of us. And I hope that you will enjoy the session. At the beginning, first of all, I want to thanks to all my colleagues from ETTU, starting from our new elected president, Mr. Levicki, executive board members, and finally to those who really help me on daily basis, from Richard Scruton, Pedro Moura, Pierre Kass, Ana Ivošević, Milica Nikolić, and also my good friends today also with us, to Samet Polat, which will moderating this event, and I'm very happy that you are together with all of us. So for the first webinar, more in detail, Samet will explain you. I just want to present that last few months I was thinking which topic, which title of our presentation should be the best to invite all coaches and players together to share the time together. I hope that you will have the fantastic chance to hear something new, to provocate your mind, your knowledge and experience from the past, but also to get new idea or new chance to adapt your way of thinking about some topics which we'll hear today. Also, what is very important at the end of session, I will announce that the next webinar very soon. The date I will announce a little bit later, and also to announce our friends, our experts for today, Prof. Zulic and Amir Zulic and Ivana Sadaic. So I hope that with such a nice psychologist you will have the very nice presentation and lecture, and I hope, and I would like to encourage you that you can be the part of that event, not only to listen. Of course, Samet will announce the timing and the way how you can be the active role of this webinar. To announce the Amir and also Ivana. So I would like to say that we started our cooperation In that time, I was Croatian women national coach. 20 years ago, it happened. So our successful collaboration lasted about 10 years. And in that time, Amir significantly contributed to all our top results. I would say that Amir made with his collaboration with all of us, we made one step, let's say, higher level of our table tennis performing in arena. And also, I just want to tell you that Amir was a personal mental coach of 3 our top players coming from Croatia: Tamara Boroš, Zoran Primorac, and Andrej Gacina. So I hope that this presentation at the end will be very successful. Also, warm welcome to our friends from ITTF, to Polona Čehovin, Katarzyna Kubas, and our good friends Max Constantini and Dominic Platner. So very, looking forward to hear our today's experts, Ivana and Amir. And I give the podium to my friend Samet Polac to explain you the other technical details and all information which are very welcome for all of us. Thank you.
So, dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first online activity of European Table Tennis Union in 2021. I'm Samet Polat, European Union's Youth Committee Deputy Chair, and at the same time, our Development Webinars Officer. So it's really a great honor to see so many participants. As you know, it's a record for us. So thank you very much. I also would like to thank to our board, our president, Mr. Levitin, our colleagues in ETTU, and all of you for your support. As you know, today we will have a webinar about how and in what way to keep focus on the player's performance. Our lecturers are Professor Amir Zulic and Ivana Sadaic from Croatia. Our lecturers have worked with more than 700 athletes in more than 40 sport branches, and these athletes has won more than 60 medals from European Championships, World Championships, and Olympic Games. So I sincerely hope this work will contribute to all of us a lot, and we wish good luck to everyone. I'd like to add a few notes for our participants. Firstly, the questions will be sent after the seminar session. So please take notes of your questions and wait until our lectures end the lesson. Then write your questions to the chat part. And please pin camera of our lecturers. Another note I'd like to request from you is please turn off your camera and microphone. So I wish all the best for everyone, and I leave the floor to Ivana and Amir, please.
Thank you, Samet. Welcome, Ivana and Amir.
Welcome to all. I'm Amir Zulic, a sports psychologist. I'm far better sports psychologist than English speaker. Therefore, Ivana is here. Ivana is also a sports psychologist, and she will present my ideas and thoughts. And I think, Ivana, that show can start.
Okay. So, good afternoon to you all. I will just share my presentation in just a second.
Oh.
Just a few technical seconds so that we can start with our presentation. Okay, my name is Ivana Sadaic, and I will be your host today. I will tell you everything that Amir would, just in English. Today's lecture is based on Amir's knowledge and more than 25 years of experience. Throughout his career, Amir worked with the best table tennis players in Croatia, as you can heard. So I'm asked to tell you that before we start, please mute all your audios, and that's okay. I think you did it. And if you want to ask any questions, please write your questions in chat. We will answer your questions at the end of the lecture. And please pin our video so that you can see me and Amir afterward. So let's start. We would like to start with defining basic terms so that you can get a general idea on what we are talking about and where it all comes from. Let us start with a definition of psychology. Try to remember it, because at the end of this lecture, we are going to have a little quiz. Psychology is the study of human mind and the behavior, and includes the study of human conscious experience and unconscious mental processes. Hopefully you have memorized it or repeated what you already knew. In Croatia, there are 12 subfields of psychology, and one of them is the psychology of sports. Psychology of sports uses psychological knowledge and skills to address the optimal performance and well-being of athletes, developmental and social aspects of sport participation, and systematic issues associated with sports setting and organizations. Now that we know what psychology of sports is, let us see what sports psychologists do. In Croatia, we have more than 40 sports psychologists. To get a license to work in our country, psychologists with an academic degree need to have additional 2-year education and pass the exam. So it's not that easy to be a sports psychologist in Croatia. And the things that we as a sports psychologists do are: we inform how psychology influences sport, athletic performance, exercise, and physical activity. We educate about skills to address optimal performance and well-being of athletes, also known as mental training. We counsel individuals or teams in sports. We are lecturing. We are doing research and science work. And we do the psychological preparation. Most of the time, Amir works on psychological preparation with athletes. And sometimes, today, for example, through me, he lectures. Research and science work is something that he does the least, but it was a big part of his work for the first 10 years of his career. That doesn't mean that research and science work are less important. That's a base for our work. Through our lecture today, we are going to talk about number 6, psychological preparation. What is psychological preparation in sports? Try to answer this question in chat. Write us. What do you think psychological preparation in sports is? Don't be afraid. Just write anything. We will tell you what is the psychological preparation in sports. What do you think psychological preparation in sports is? Anyone? Mental for a practice and match. Great answer. Focus, maybe. There, focus is a part of psychological preparation. Mindset for what you are about to perform. It could be a development of mental skills. Great answer. How to deal with stress. Yes. Thank you for your answers. So let's see what the psychological preparation in sport is. It is training that impacts the development of mental functions, processes, skills, and personality traits that provide stability and quality of performance in sports. It's training, which means that is something that you do continually and that you plan. Work that is based on developing skills, abilities, and personality of athletes with the goal to increase quality and stability and decrease oscillations in performance. So, before we continue, take your time and focus on your breathing. Try to focus for a few seconds on how you breathe in and breathe out. Did you do that? I hope you did. Now we are going to continue. What is the place of psychological preparation in the preparation of an athlete? Every Better Coach manual suggests that the total preparation of an athlete depends on technical, tactical, physical, and psychological preparation. Each preparation influences the other three. At first, it was all about technical and tactical preparation. Then in the 70s, physical preparation was recognized as important as the other two. Psychological preparation, in theory, started to be as important as others in the last 20 years. The only question is who and what amount of time dedicates on which of those four types of preparation. These arrows here suggest that each type of preparation affects the other. They depend on each other, but that doesn't mean that you can compensate. You can't work just on one and be maximally prepared on the other three. Every preparation has its own rules and laws. You can just play table tennis and you are going to be technically, tactically, physically, and psychologically in better shape. But if you invest significant time outside of the table tennis training, working on your physical and psychological preparation, in time you will get better. So, what do you think when you ask athletes, their parents, and coaches, what is most important for success in sports? What do they answer? Try to guess in chat what percentage of their answers included some aspect of psychological preparation. Try to guess. What percentage of their answers included psychological preparations when we ask them how important and what is the most important for success in sport? 5%, less than 5%. Do we have another guess? 10%? Very overlooked. Okay. About 5%. 90%. Okay. Maybe 10%. 30%. Okay, let's see. 70% of their statements are about psychological and were about psychological preparation. That doesn't mean that psychological preparation is the most important, but that people sense that there is most room for improvement in that part of athletes' preparation. In most cases, you have a coach that works on technical, tactical part, and a fitness trainer who works on physical preparation. The question is, who works on psychological preparation, and is it left up to chance? It's like this, maybe. You have an excellent athlete with a great technical, tactical coach, fitness trainer, nutritionist, medical, and you pair them with a so-called sports psychology enthusiast. That can spoil everything. Physical and psychological preparations are a base for technical and tactical preparation. You can have the best knowledge and great technical abilities, but that means nothing if you are poorly physically and psychologically prepared. Now that we said what psychological preparation is and how important it is in the total preparation of an athlete, let's see what that includes. At first, we are going to mention some of the concepts in psychology of sports that you are probably familiar with. What are the most known concepts that connect psychology and sports? Those are, we think, pressure, anxiety, stress. How an athlete feels before and throughout the competition. Does he feel responsibility, pressure from people around him, pressure to make a result, responsibility to make something great, or he's relaxed, so relaxed that he can only think about game and tactics, or he's thinking about his responsibility to coach, parents, fans, or sponsors. I'm sure that you all have heard of those concepts and probably experienced them. Next well-known psychological concept is communication. How an athlete communicates with himself, what he's thinking about, how he communicates with the coach, teammate, opponent, referee, fan. From that communication arises how people around him feel, which dictates how successful their collaboration would be. The way an athlete communicates with himself determines how effective he is, and if he communicates in a way that has a negative impact on his performance, he needs to be conscious about it and change it. Next psychological concept, well-known psychological concept, is self-confidence. Everybody talks about athletes that have and don't have self-confidence. Self-confidence is an inverted U-shaped curve. The more self-confidence we have, the more successful we are. Until one point where, when we have too much self-confidence, we are less effective. Self-confidence is a trust in our own abilities and should not be connected with an opponent. That is not a prediction about winning or losing. You can have a maximal confidence in your abilities and play against the best or the worst opponent. It should not relate to the quality of that opponent. For example, I can play against Chen, and I know that I can serve on backhand, and I know what amount of time I would lose in between points. I can control how I want to feel after every point, and I know that if comes the ball that is this high on forehand, that I can hit it. And in the end, I lost 3 times 11-0. Should I have less self-confidence? No, because I still can do all that. Another thing is that I didn't get a ball that is this high with that speed. But if I did, I would nail that point. Every comparison with an opponent is a lost cause because it's a necessary pressure, a waste of time, and it does you no good. And when people say, I'm going to beat him, that is probably fear of losing or too much confidence, which results in low efficiency. Talking about results brings you nothing. Next big topic in psychology of sports is motivation. We are sure that every one of you knows something about motivation. Lots of people look at psychological preparation throughout motivation and think that it is main goal. It's one of the many concepts that connect psychology and sport. Not more or less important than any other. It can be shown also as inverted U-shaped curve. The more an athlete is motivated, his performance is better until one point, after which an increase in motivation has a negative effect on performance. Self-confidence and motivation have the same curve, but from a different reason. When motivation is too high, the athlete is too excited and physically stiff, too oriented on results, movements are stiff, and athlete thinks too much about every move. He is late on point. And on the other hand, when he is too confident, he is too loose, less committed, probably too phlegmatic. His preparation for the match is poorer in quality. Group cohesion. In table tennis, although it is an individual sport, the players play in a club or national team. Cohesion starts in national and club camps and has an impact on sports performance. Another big psychological concept in sport are emotions. We all see emotions in sport. From a fan's perspective, some of them can be interesting. And at the same time, for an athlete in that situation, can be less effective. In some situations, emotions can bring some positive and negative effects. Emotions generate more energy on one hand, but bring less control on the other. Less control means poor technical and tactical quality. In sports, where energy is more important than technique or tactic, this could be useful, but in majority of sports, that isn't the case. In sports where technique and tactics are important, like in table tennis, it would be useful to control your emotions. Emotions and logic are inversely correlated. The more emotional you are, the less rational you become, and vice versa. For example, if you see two people arguing, the probability that they would get along about specific idea is tiny probably. But they aren't going to agree about specific idea, because when emotions are high, our logic is limited. So we must wait another day for emotions to decrease so that we can find the solution. In a match, in a table tennis match, you don't have that one day. You don't have time to wait for your emotions to decrease. And the last concept that we are going to mention, and concept that we are going to talk more about in this lecture, is concentration. You all probably heard that someone said that he is concentrated or isn't concentrated. Anyone can notice if someone is concentrated. Table tennis players, coaches, even though they aren't psychologists, can see if someone is focused on the things that he is doing or he isn't focused. Most of the time, they can't elaborate on why they think that, but they sure can see it. Now that we said something about concepts that connect psychology and sports, we can get to what we are here about. Before we get to talk about concentration and attention, let's start with a fundamental assumption, as you can see on this slide. This is the bottom line. Without that, we cannot think about other things. If the athlete does not enjoy activity that he does, we can't talk about his concentration, motivation, or self-confidence. This is a fundamental assumption because that is why athletes start with that sport. When they were children, starting with that sport, they felt good. And that is why they came to the second training. Enjoyment in physical activity, developing skills, feeling of accomplishment. Every day they had more control over the ball. Someone on the side told them, bravo. And they are feeling good in that activity. If those feelings are lost, you cannot expect from an athlete great attention or self-confidence or to be motivated. This feeling is easily lost if the pressure is too high. Because when the pressure is too high, you don't feel good, you feel bad. In that situation, the most important thing is that the athlete feels good again. So, before we continue, let's focus again on how you are breathing. Take a few breaths and notice what is going on in your body. Okay, let's see what we are talking about when we talk about concentration. Concentration is a term that is superior to attention. Attention is the process of selectively focusing on specific information in the environment. Concentration is an attentional process that involves the ability to focus on a task while ignoring distractions. In this lecture, we are going to use these words interchangeably. We can look at attention through different dimensions. We can talk about broad and narrow attention. In table tennis, a player's attention is narrow when he is focused only on the ball, or broader when he is focused on the ball and the opponent's movement, or even broader and less efficient when he is focused on the ball, opponent, coach, audience, referee, and what happens on the other tables. Sometimes narrow attention is efficient, and sometimes a bit broader attention is the most efficient. That depends on the situation. For example, if you are receiving serve, you should be focused on the contact of the ball with the racket. And if you are on serve, you should be focused on the ball and primarily on the opponent and how he stands, meaning a bit broader attention is more effective. In this example, we were perceiving attention in the external dimension. Narrow internal attention is when you are focused on your pulse, how fast your heart is beating. Broad internal attention is focusing on, for example, how tactically to play the next point. Internal attention means focusing on how I feel, my breathing, am I tired, do I feel pain? External attention is focusing on the demands of the environment, the opponent, and how he plays. The capacity of attention is limited, so it's very important that we are focused on the crucial informations, the most important information in that situation. Attention span is also limited. We can't be highly focused for 1 hour on something important, but the attention span affects performance. The more time we are focused on important information, the more successful we are. And quality attention means whether you are focused on important things. You can be highly focused on winning, but is that effective? No, because you are focused on a result, while you should be focused on what is going on in the match. Now that we defined what an athlete can be concentrated on, let's see how we can improve his attention. We think that one of the most used instructions that coaches say to athletes, besides technical and tactical, in any sports probably, even in table tennis, is keep calm and concentrate. Meaning every coach sees if the player is restless and can't focus, and he wants to help. But the question is, if the player knows what to do to calm and concentrate. Now we would like you to do an exercise that athletes practice with sports psychologists. Please start by settling into a comfortable position. Sit in a chair and allow your back to be straight, not stiff. With your feet on the ground separated, allowing your arms and hands to rest comfortably in your lap, also separated. With your eyes closed, your task is to observe your breathing for 3 minutes. Allow your breath to find its own natural rhythm. Bring your full attention for 3 minutes to notice how the breathing changes sensations on your nerves or on your body. You may find that your mind wanders, distracted by thoughts or bodily sensations. That's okay. Just notice that this is happening and bring your attention back to your breathing as fast as you can. Are you ready? I'm going to measure time. Close your eyes. Bring your full attention to your breathing for 3 minutes. Breathe the way that you are most comfortable with. Just notice as you breathe in and breathe out. Okay, the exercise is over. Open your eyes. How was that for you? Was it a positive experience? How well did you concentrate? Please write us in chat how many times your focus jumped for something else other than breathing. How many times your focus was broken? 13 times, okay? 4 times, 6 to 7, 3, maybe 5. Oh, you are great in this exercise. 4 times, nice. I have an IDD. You have a syndrome of jumping attention. Very relaxed now. I broke focus 4 times. Oh, great. You were great in this exercise. Probably some of you were more focused in the beginning. Others were more effective at the end of the exercise. I'm sure that most of you lost focus on breathing at least once. Some of you maybe lost focus more than once because we are on Zoom. You are doing this for the first time. You couldn't relax in the situation. It's not that bad if you lose your focus and manage to get it back. It is bad if you lose your focus for the whole 3 minutes. Some of you, as you wrote us in a chat, felt more relaxed after this exercise. So now we are going to explain what happened with your attention in this exercise. Let's see what this exercise was about. This circle here with dots represent all the content that you could have thought about in 3 minutes. There should be more dots probably on this slide, but this would do. This arrow here represents the focus of your attention. It points to what you are focused on. As you can see, an arrow can move in any direction instantly. It jumps from one content to another. In this exercise, your task was to focus on your breathing. People don't have more than one's focus of attention, unfortunately. If that was not the case, we could be focused on more things at once. Because that's not the case, we can consciously focus only on one thing at the time. As you probably experienced it, we don't have absolute control over this arrow. The focus tends to jump from one content to another. The idea of psychological preparation is that we can train how to have the focus of our attention under our control as much as possible. We can have only one conscious focus of attention, but we can parallelly have two processes, one that is conscious and the other that is automatism. For example, you can drive a car and at the same time talk, or you can play well-practiced forehand exercise and talk with someone or think about something. Two conscious processes can't go parallel. You can't be focused on two sources. For example, if you are getting information from two different sources, your focus is going from one source to another repeatedly. You can do that very quickly, so it looks like you are focused on both sources, but the fact is that you are losing some information from one and some information from the other source. Why we don't have that absolute control over this arrow? Because that would not be useful in the evolution of humans. To explain this, let's go back to prehistorical time. If, for example, I was absolutely focused on mammoths during my prehistorical hunt, I wouldn't notice the tiger behind my back. So, our focus can't be directed only on one side. We are living in a modern times, so when you come to the arena, you know that there are no tigers, but you have that inherited mechanism of jumping attention. It's impossible to expect that player has absolute focus because his attention oscillates. And we want that the attention oscillates as less as possible. So your task was to focus on breathing. And you saw how many times this arrow went to something else. The more pauses sport has, it is easier to lose focus. There are more opportunities to think about irrelevant informations. That means you are less focused on the next point. Let's use a table tennis example to explain this. In a towel break, player can think about lots of things. How does he feel? What would be his next best move? He can think about the next point, about the past set, about the final result, about what coach told him, about the consequences of winning or losing? Does he feel pain about the referee's last call? If a ball hits the edge of the table, or he can think about what he's going to do after the game, who is in the audience. He can worry about the game, tactics. A lot of information can go through player's head in short time of period, as these arrows in this drawing suggest. We want to control this arrow, so we trained that in our exercise. The best way to control this arrow is to use the tool that is always with us. The tool that is always with us and that we can use is breathing. If the player is focused on all of that information in that short time of period, then he's not focused enough on what's important. It would be useful to be focused on 1, maybe 2, up to 3 technical tactical aspects of the next point. If a player is focused on less important things, then his time and capacity of attention are wasted. This is what we call the concentration. In some extreme cases of deconcentration, the player exits from the competition setting. And when you ask him, what happened? He will tell you, I don't know. I can't remember a single thing from that point. I was completely lost. His arrow jumps so fast from one information to other that he is totally unconscious about what he's thinking about and about his thinking process. Or he can be so focused on one thing that is totally irrelevant. Maybe on I have to win. We want this arrow pointed to the most important technical and tactical information and to ignore all other irrelevant informations. How can we accomplish that? The player can think about lots of information in his towel break, like in this example here. Peaks of arrows are all the information that he can think about. If there is no control whatsoever, any of this information can come into focus. If athlete wants to control what he's focused on, it would be good for him to stop his thoughts. You don't want him to go in that state where his thoughts run out of control, because that he doesn't have the time to think, now I have this thought, and now I have that thought, and this thought is good or is not. So he should stop all of his thoughts.
Так.
Okay.
It's okay now.
we had a little interruption. So, how can we stop these thoughts? An athlete can focus on nothing. So we are training him to focus on neutral information. So he can focus on one thing for some time. And what is that one neutral information that he can focus on? It is breathing, as we've trained in our exercise. From how long? From 2 to 10 breaths, depending on how much time he has. After that, he can pick his technical tactical priority. 1, 2, not more than 3. You have to watch out for how many priorities athlete is focused on. If he is focused on too many priorities, he is going to get deconcentrated. being focused on one priority is good as to be focused on 3. In the game, when the point is over, the player could start to think about all sorts of things, but that does him no good. He should be thinking about the next point as soon as the last point has ended. If player wants to be maximally effective, he needs to stop his thoughts and focus on breathing. That allows him to focus on important technical tactical priority. After the next point, it would be good to focus again on breathing, to prevent thinking about distracting things like, did I win that point? Did I lose that point? What is the result? Am I winning? Why did I play that? So he's focusing on breathing as a tool to focus his attention on important things. When a point in the game is over, the player stops his thoughts using breathing to focus on important technical tactical instructions. Breathing is a tool that can be used regardless of what moment in the set is, what moment in the game, or what the result is. If this becomes routine, then this prevents pressure when the game gets tight, because this way of functioning is routine and something that is normal and usual. This protects the player from pressure because he's used to breathing after every point and to focus on important instructions and decisions, no matter what the result is. That's an ideal that we aim for. But the more a player is using this type of functioning, the more probable is that he will function like that when the pressure is on. He would be more focused. So when our instruction is keep calm and concentrate, we are expecting a player to be focused on breathing because that leads to relaxing, as you could feel doing our exercise. This also happens in a game after 2 to 10 breaths, so players can easily focus on important things regarding the next point. It is useful to train breathing exercises like we've demonstrated, and there are more than this breathing exercise. It's useful to train these exercises every day, more than once a day, in spare time, and also in training and in match situation. This is how the player gets used to using pauses to breathe and then focus on what's important. It helps him to be more concentrated and relaxed in matches, and helps him to manage emotions and thoughts effectively. Players think that in defining moments, they have to think about lots of things. Amir tells them to try to focus only on breathing, because if that happens, their automatic reactions take place. Your automatic reactions are far more efficient than your reactions when you overthink. So, when the player is focused, he is better at controlling his thoughts, and that helps him to control his emotions too. Another construct that plays a crucial role in focusing on what is important is time traveling. Players are most efficient when their thoughts are in and about the present. When they think about the past or future, they are less effective in the present. Their focus on the past or future results in errors in the present. The player that has lost a set thinks too much about that set in the past. And then he shifts his focus on the future, thinking, am I going to win or lose? The same can happen if he won a set. He can think, I won a last set. That's past. I'm going to win in the end. That's future. This can happen in between points. Athletes that travel through time and their thoughts travel from the past through the present to the future are less effective in now. We want the athlete to be most efficient in what he is doing now. There is more than one way to keep players in present. That is important because often errors and lack of focus that we notice are results of time traveling. Players' thoughts are in the past or future. Okay, you can think, but the player needs to go in the past and future to analyze last matches and to plan the next steps. That's true, but traveling through time should be planned and controlled. The worst thing that a player can do is to non-systematically travel to the past or to the future. That doesn't help him in the present. It makes playing in the present even harder. Thinking about how I lost my last 3 serves or how many points till the end of the set is not relevant for my next move. Controlled time travel is okay. For example, preparing for the next match the night before or analyzing a match the next day. But it brings you nothing if you are returning to the last match multiple times. For example, if the match was on Sunday, you analyze it on Monday. Then on Tuesday, you are focused on the present. When you are working with players, don't bring them back in the past, talking about last matches, nor to the future, talking about matches that they are going to play, nor connect previous matches with the next. We want the player to travel through time in a match, so we don't train him to do that during the preparation phase. Your goal is to keep your player in this day and this training, not to drag him in what was before or what is going to be. If you think, I trained well yesterday and the day before, and if I train like that today, I'm going to play well in the next match. That is time traveling, and it brings you nothing good. With your communication during the match, in between matches, and in the preparation phase, you can increase or decrease the probability of players' time travel. The most efficient thing is to keep your player in now or in near future. Player with his thoughts in now has a better chance to be effective than a player whose thoughts are in the past or in the future. So, what are the best things that you as a coach can do? Number 1, try not to go back to past or future. Keep your player in now. Number 2, analysis should be done after the tournament, not during. And number 3, instructions about the next match should be given far enough from the match that has ended and closer to the next match. And instructions should be focused on how to play the next match. Sports psychologists train players how to use this breathing tool, teaching them breathing exercises and how to focus on important things for their sports performance. As a coach, you don't have time for that. The best you can do is to give instructions that are important for now or for the near future. In the exercise where you are focusing on breathing, you practiced staying in present. Instruction was to focus on how you breathe. So you had to be focused on now. With this exercise, players learn how to do exactly that, how to return their thoughts in present. So let's see how good you are with bringing your focus to present. Try to focus on your breathing for a few seconds. We are in between two slides, like we could be in between points if we were in a match. Focus on your breathing for 1, 2, 3. Okay, the way the athlete talks to himself, what he is focused on, affects his concentration. It can be trained through goal settings. If goals are set appropriately, the athlete's self-talk and the way he thinks heightens the probability to be more focused. If we talk about concentration, we have to take into consideration other aspects of psychological preparation because they are interconnected, have an impact on each other. Just as specific types of preparation affects on total preparation of an athlete. Different concepts of sports psychology that we mentioned have effects on psychological preparation. And all these different concepts of sports psychology are interconnected. Another important thing is what kind of goals you set for yourself and your athletes. The goals that you set for training or competition can be focused on outcome, performance, or process. Goals focused on the outcome are, for example, to be the first in the ITTF world ranking or to win. Goals focused on performance are, for example, to increase the quality of backhand or forehand or to increase the quality of serve. If your goals are, for example, to focus on the opponent's moves or aspects of tactic, then your goals are focused on the process. Some players and coaches are too focused on winning. Focus on winning will not get you to win. The result is achieved indirectly through the focus on technique and tactic of the game. Add to that your limited attention is focused on the thoughts about how important it is to win. You don't have enough capacity to think about tactics and technique. So, Amir decided that we present you this quote from a famous world tennis player. He likes this quote because it points out what we should be focused on. And that's we should be focused on the process, not on the outcome. So a famous tennis player said when they asked him about losing, he said, "I never lost. I just ran out of time." So when we said, keep calm and concentrate, what is probably going on is that the athlete, this situation, game, or event experiences as important. Because this event is so important to him, he loses focus. He thinks only about the outcome, not about what he needs to do in the next point. When you think about winning, you probably don't feel good because you don't have control over the results. The player that is anxious and under stress can be focused. The thing that makes him anxious are his thoughts. If you have one focus of attention, and you do have, in this situation, you are using that focus to think about things that aren't important for the game. Another thing is that your thoughts produce emotions. When you are emotional, your focus narrows and you see fewer options of what to play. When you are relaxed and rational, you see more different creative options about what to play. You want to win. That is not totally under your control. The outcome is uncertain. Uncertainty of outcome means that you can't predict what is going to happen. You can be prepared. You can have a great tactic, but the result is out of your control. So when they ask you before the match, what is going to happen? The best you can say is, I don't have a clue. I'm going there and we'll see. I'll smile through match. And that is the uncertainty of life. It seems to us that we have some parts of our life under control. And the truth is that we have nothing absolutely under our control. And everything that we have tomorrow can be gone. This uncertainty is always present. So the only thing that we can do is to enjoy this uncertainty and to be in love with it. And we can look at this uncertainty from another perspective. Every fan enjoys uncertainty. Who would want to watch a certain game? Who would want to watch the game Tamara Borosh against Ivana Sadaic? The best thing would be that player sees uncertainty as the best thing that can happen to that game. And that his thoughts are, I'm prepared. I know what am I going to do. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? I don't know. Let's see. I accept the challenge. The thought that can be very helpful in this situation is, for example, I don't care about this situation and how this point will end. I care about what am I going to do. I don't care if I would win or lose this point. I care how I would prepare, what serve I would play, and how am I going to play this point. When you think like that, you are closer to good result. You get your mind off the outcome and you focus on what you are doing. That is under your control. The result is not. You care about what you are doing and don't care about what is going to be. So, let's take a towel break and focus on breathing. Try to focus on how you breathe in and breathe out. for the last time, try to focus on breathing. Okay, we are in the end of our lecture, and before the questions, we would like to connect concentration, the uncertainty of outcome, and real-life stories, and what to expect when you are working with the sports psychologist. So, Amir decided to share with you some unknown stories. In the first story, in the first round of the Olympic tournament, Zoran Primorac played against Gardoš. He was a young player, not an ideal player for the first match. It was a tight game. Zoran leads 3-2. In sixth set, result is 10-8 and 2 game points and serves for Zoran. Afterward, Zoran told Amir, on 10-8, the only thing that was in my mind was, I have to win this point. I have to win this point. Zoran serves, Gardoš returns, and Zoran plays a bad shot, and the ball ends in the net. Then Zoran said to him, keep calm, feel your body, and breathe. I don't have to win this point. I'm prepared for anything. I can even play 7th set. After next serve, Zoran won. Throughout that whole tournament, Zoran talked to himself, and the instruction that he gave to himself was enjoy Zoki. Enjoy. Just enjoy Zoki. This was a short story about enjoying the uncertainty. Zoran referred to mental training exercises as a protective helmet. When he was focused, practiced mental exercises on a regular basis, it was like he had this protective helmet on his head. Irrelevant information couldn't pass. He could ignore them easily. But when he didn't practice it, it was like he had water polo cap. It was much harder to ignore irrelevant information. They went through and caught his attention. Another story about how important it is to be psychologically prepared. And another story. This story includes a famous coach, so we hope you're gonna like it. In Paris, 2003, Tamara played in the World Championship tournament. In the third round, Tamara played against a Japanese player and won the match. The next day, she played 2 matches, the 4th round and the quarterfinal. 4th round match against the Romanian player Badescu that became European champion 2 months before. It was a great match. Tamara won 4-3 after she lost the first 2 sets. The next match that day was against an American Chinese player. Tamara, famous coach Neven, and Amir had their routine that was set throughout several years of working together. Match preparation looked like this. Amir would do the psychological preparation with Tamara, and Neven would do his preparation. And then Tamara would go and play the match. Amir would talk with Tamara for 20 to 30 minutes, focusing on goals, what she would play, and what's important. in Paris, 2003, before the quarterfinal match. Half an hour before, Amir spoke to Tamara. Neven called Amir to get down to the hotel lobby for a coffee. They sit on a terrace. It's early spring in Paris. Two men are quietly stirring their coffees. Neven looks at Amir and says, "Do you understand the importance of this moment?" Amir responded, "When I would look at this moment as you are, you would not need me." They looked at each other and continued to drink coffee quietly. Famous coach wanted confirmation that everything is under control. Amir did that and told him, "It's okay that you see this differently, and it's okay that you have me, who sees this differently, because you need me to be like this." So, we are at the end of this lecture, and we would like to address the importance of trust. Amir's collaboration with Neven and Tamara was intense and based on trust. It would not be as effective as it was without the great trust that Neven and Tamara gave Amir. So, now it's the time for your questions. You can write your questions in chat, and then I would have a brief consultation with Amir in Croatian, and then I would translate you what Amir's answer is. So we are ready for your questions.
First of all,
do you see us?
Yes.
Yes, can I say just before we'll hear and to see the questions from our colleagues, just wanted to thanks to Amir and Ivana, especially Ivana, because both you prepared presentation fantastically. So your pronunciation was perfect, clear, and slow, that everybody could understand very easy the main message from presentation. Also, what was very important for me personally, thank you to bring me back 17 years ago onto Bercy in Paris. So it was until I die, I will I will remember all these stories from that. And also I want to reach that after the questions and answers on the questions of our colleagues, that we reach the main message to all of them. So it was fantastically prepared. Ivana did really good job. You are a really televised person, young lady, and everything was on the really high level. Thank you so much, and waiting for the questions from our colleagues. Thank you so much.
so for the questions, I think I may help to our lecturers. I saw that Mr. Callum Rido has a question. I think we can begin with it. Just a second.
What are your thoughts on imagery? Imagery.
Nas mute pa da onda govorimo ovoga.
Dear Ivana, Amir, you may also unmute while during talking together. It's not a problem.
Okay, we are talking in Croatia, so maybe that wouldn't be interesting for the participants to listen to us. So.
Mogu ja dakle, vizualizacije su nedjeljiv dio mentalnog treninga i one se rade i prije i poslije treninga i prije i poslije natjecanja. Jedino je pitanje koliko su sportaši u početku spremni raditi vizualizacije. Ja ih ne radim sigurno prvih 4 do 6 mjeseci. Znači, prvo ih pripremam kroz neke druge vježbe da mogu kvalitetno raditi vježbe vizualizacije, a one su svakako neophodne i nedjeljiv dio nekakvog mentalnog treninga.
Okay, so I'll try to translate everything that Amir said. Visualization is a significant part, or imagery is a significant part of mental training that is very used in mental preparation, but it's used in practice, after the practice, before the matches, through the matches, after the matches, in any time. So, but it is very important that you practice that. You should introduce visualization to athletes. How do you say it? Easily. Amir does these visualization techniques maybe 4 or 6 months after the first, when he first starts with working with an athlete. Before that, he's training an athlete how to do these breathing exercises. Then the athlete practice how to do the relaxation exercises, and after that, then he introduces visualization to an athlete. Yeah. I think that's it. So it's a very big part of mental training. The next question is, okay, we have this comment that focus is the most difficult part of sport. Yeah, and very complex. How do you feel about the book Flow?
Ne znam, to smo već pričali. Ne volim nazivati ta nekakva stanja, iako vjerojatno ta stanja postoje i vjerojatno se kroz taj mentalni trening postižu nekakva stanja flowa, a sad ako ih sportaš doživi kao flow, vrlo vjerojatno će izaći iz tog flowa.
Amir doesn't like to use this term flow because he thinks that if you talk with athletes about the flow, he is too focused on this flow that when this happens, that gets him out of the flow. So it's something that that you can get to with other exercises and working with sports psychologists. That doesn't mean necessary that you have to say, now you have to go to flow.
NLP.
First of all, thank you. What do you think about NLP in table tennis?
Mislim, NLP kao je
soft psychology.
Soft psychology. It's not only for psychologists. No.
Okay.
Sigurno ima neki dobre strane, ali ne bi se za to vezao kao nešto što je neophodno.
Okay, we are psychologists, so we have this, I don't know, impression that we think that the NLP is soft psychology. It's okay to have that NLP in table tennis and in sports, but it's light, or is it this sports psychology enthusiasts use the NLP? We would say that sports psychology is greater field than the NLP would suggest that.
Ima još tu, može ući u neku raspravu.
Okay. I hope you are satisfied with the answer. Thanks a lot.
Ivana, we have a very good question from Dmitry. Please, if you can.
Dmitry, should the optimal psychological state in the game for an athlete be generated during training?
And also another one down.
Calmness good for everyone to be in the game. Is calmness good for everyone to be in the game?
Da, recimo da to tako da svaki sportaš ima neki svoj optimum pri kojem postiže najbolji rezultati. Naravno da je to onda sve individualno i sad ono što mi možemo češće zaključiti da su igrači i sportaši pod pritiskom nego što su ono, da su premirni ili preopušteni. I onda mi idemo iz nekakve svoje pretpostavke ovog mediteranskog korita da su tu ljudi malo previše uzbuđeni, pa ih onda u stvari vraćamo da budu opušteniji. Naravno da se može dogoditi i da su neki premirni, pa ih onda treba malo i aktivirati.
Okay.
Ali u svakom slučaju i te vježbe mentalnog treninga utječu na to da čovjek nađe svoju nekakvu razinu i psihičke i fizičke pobuđenosti koja mu odgovara za optimalno nastupanje.
Okay. Optimal psychological states, it depends on athlete. It's an individual things. So every athlete has its own optimal psychological state in the game. It's easier for the coach and someone from outside to see if he's out of his optimal psychological states. So it's going to be more probable that you see that he's out of that optimal psychological state, and you will try to change it. Then is it to see that he's in right optimal psychological state. So sometimes we in our Mediterranean temperament thinking that maybe
we are always up.
We are always up, and we think that maybe the athletes need to be up all the time, but it depends on the athlete. And yes, through this mental training and through this psychological preparation, every athlete tries to notice it and identifies what is his optimal psychological state, and all the exercises that he studies or that he trains with sports psychologists are their goal is that he's in his optimal psychological state in the game. Yeah, did I?
Da, mislim, kroz mentalni trening on u stvari nalazi svoje optimalno stanje. Znači te vježbe pomažu da on nađe svoje optimalno stanje.
Yes. Mental training exercises are helping athlete to find his own optimal psychological state and to be in this state as much as it possible. Is calmness good for him? Yeah. Okay.
Can you give us some...
Next one is from Igor Mihailovic, please.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us some of your specific methods for boosting self-confidence?
A to je taj dio gdje u stvari je samopouzdanje na kliskom terenu ukoliko se ide u usporedbu sa drugima, a u stvari ono što je bitno da se to samopouzdanje uvijek ide iz perspektive povjerenja u vlastite sposobnosti, i u stvari tada je samopouzdanje uvijek jednako bez obzira s kim se igra. I onda ne dolazi do situacija da je samopouzdanje manje ili veće, ne dolazi do situacija kad se 3 ili 4 puta izgubi, da sad odmah trebamo razgovarati o tome da li je samopouzdanje narušeno. Ne dolazimo u situaciju da nakon 5 pobjeda odjednom samopouzdanje bude tako da smo previše opušteni pa da se ne pripremamo dovoljno. Dakle, samopouzdanje bi bilo uvijek dobro gledati bez obzira na protivnika i što više usmjeravati se na ono što sam sportaš vidi da može napraviti u treningu ili u nekim mečevima. To je ono, povjerenje u ono što mogu napraviti. Što znam da mogu napraviti.
Okay, so it would be good that the self-confidence is not related to the opponent. That self-confidence is some belief believing what I can do in that situation. That doesn't depend on how strong or how weak the opponent is. Because if we relate our self-confidence to the opponent, then if we get a harder opponent, then we should have less self-confidence. The goal is to have a stable self-confidence, the self-confidence that is always the same, that you know what you can do, that depends on your abilities. So in this psychological preparation, sports psychologists teach athlete how to see a self-confidence and how to think about what he can do, not what are his abilities related to his opponent or result or something else. Yeah. Did I?
Yes.
Amir and Ivana, may I ask you just a little bit, your answers should be a little bit more compact, that we can answer on many questions, because
Okay.
questions are coming and a little bit.
Should be short.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, shorter, please. So next
Yeah,
one
thank
from
you.
Jan Berner, please.
What age should this type of training start?
Pa ja najviše volim raditi sa onima koji su negdje od nekog 7. 8. razreda, znači od 14-15 godina, to je meni najbolje, a evo, može se reći tu da sam radio sa nekim sportašima s koji smo tu spomenuli 7, 8, 10, 15 godina. Znači, što se tiče rada sa sportskim psihologom, ne postoji da se tu, to je bitno naglasiti, da se ne radi o tome da se sa sportašem radi na određenom problemu, nego je to jedan proces u kojem se kao proces kondicijskog treninga koji nema da je sad se događa, aha, sad je on spreman pa više ne treba raditi. Ja. I zato se u stvari, kad to sportaši shvate, onda nikakav problem nije da se više godina radi sa nekim sportašem, jer uvijek se događaju nekakve stvari gdje sportaš nije uvijek svjestan šta se s njim događa u različitim situacijama i ima kontrolu sportskog psihologa za ono što sportski psiholog može kontrolirati, naravno.
This training is not age related and should not be related to a problem. That's like physical preparation. You don't do it to prevent, you do it to prevent the problem, to be more prepared. So that's like for psychological preparation. Amir started to work with some of these tennis table players when they were 7, 8 years old.
7, 8 grade.
7, 8 grade. Okay, 13 to 14 years. And he likes, he's like that. He likes to play with, he likes to work with athletes that are 13, 14 years old. And this psychological preparation should be something that is continuously. So it's like a physical preparation. Yeah, yes. Like that. So.
For example, I worked with Gachina for, I don't know, 16 years.
Next one is Ryan, please.
Mm-hmm. What your biggest surprise regarding, what was your biggest surprise regarding table tennis compared to some other sports?
Stolni tenis je bio moj sport, ja sam to trenirao. Tako da, što se tiče toga, stolni tenis je za mene u stvari velika opasnost da ne postanem drugi trener tehničko-taktički. I ponekad bi vrlo rado pitao nekog sportaša zašto je odigrao dug servis, a ne kratki, ali što se naravno neće dogoditi u drugim sportovima kao što su recimo hrvanje ili taekwondo, gdje sam imao jako puno radio i s dobrim sportašima. Tako da za sportskog psihologa je možda bavljenje nekim sportom nekakva opasnost da ne uđe u nekakvu zamku, da postane i drugi tehničko-taktički trener. Naravno da onda s jedne strane imam neko iskustvo pa znam po prilici kako se ljudi osjećaju, ali s druge strane trebam se jako suzdržati da ne postanem ili navijač ili trener.
Okay, table tennis was Amir's sport. He played table tennis, so there wasn't a big surprises for him regarding the table tennis, but there is some problem because he played table tennis. Sometimes the problem is he needs to separate this sports psychology work with the technical tactical part. Sometimes he would like to ask his players, why did you play that long serve and not that short serve? But it's better when the sports psychologist isn't that involved in sport, so that he's more objective, and this technical tactical part of sports isn't something that he's thinking about.
Tomislav is the next one. Shorter, please.
Okay, what would be a good technique to rule out the bad thoughts during or before the game and restore focus on important things that can help you perform better in the time you have left in the present? Šta bi bile dobra tehnika?
Pa to smo sad rekli, znači ovo što smo prezentirali je u stvari jedan početak nekakvog mentalnog treninga. Znači, ako se to ne vježba svakodnevno, onda se nema nikakve koristi od toga. I sigurno sve vježbe disanja, ovako jednostavno ili neke malo kompleksnije, ili kraće ili duže, sve će one omogućiti da sportaš ostane u sadašnjosti, što je bitno da prije meča on u stvari ne razmišlja previše o tome šta će igrati ili o ishodu šta će se dogoditi.
This exercise that we presented was something that could restore focus and help athletes to focus on important things. Breathing exercises like this that are easy or maybe more complex can also do that. So these breathing exercises help the player to stay in present and to focus on what's important in the game.
Postoji još puno različitih metoda koje se u stvari malo po malo implementiraju i predstavljaju sportašu, s kojima on u stvari zadržava nekakav fokus na onome što je.
Okay, this is the beginning of the mental preparation, so there are more complex exercises that are used later in the psychological preparation, and that are based on or their goal is to that the player isn't present.
Omer's question is the next one.
Should the player have the same way in different? Should the player behave the same way in different situations and different score? This first point, deciding point, what's easy.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Trebamo li objašnjavati ili yes dovoljno?
Yeah. Do we need to explain? Yes. The answer is yes. Do we need to explain? Probably. He would.
Sportaš bi bilo dobro da uvijek ima jednu rutinu od kad je poen završio do kad je poen počeo. Ta rutina bi bilo dobro da je uvijek zahtijeva jednako vrijeme, što znamo da možda se ne događa ako je sportaš pod pritiskom, onda počne malo žuriti i ta rutina se malo skraćuje. Ali ono idealno je da bez obzira da li vodi, gubi, da li je 0-0 ili 10-10, da li 6-10, 10-6, uvijek ista rutina, jer to je u stvari nekakav okidač za tijelo da uvijek napravi na isti način iste pokrete. Ja. Ako se ta rutina promijeni, ako se skrati ili se ubrzava ili se još više skraćuje, onda se u stvari sportaš izbacuje iz te, da tako kažemo, najbolje optimalne nekakve rutine koje prethodi njegovoj izvedbi.
It would be the best that the player has the routine that is always the same, that needs the same length of the time. There is always the same, no matter is it what the result is or what the time in the match is, so that he is always capable to get in this optimal emotional state or this optimal performance state.
Słyszę, się konferencja zaczęła?
Question the possibility of
Oni mnie nie słyszą.
ability. Can we,
Yes,
can we-
Domenico Ferrara is the next one.
The possibility of being focused on the opponent on the point is fundamental for athletes who have control of the technique. Is it possible to explain how young athletes can learn step by step to focus their attention as they learn to control technical skills? Yes. Yes. That's a psychological preparation.
To je vrlo slično i kako uče i u kondicijsku pripremu od nekih početaka i kako je to razvijaju, kako uče tehniku, kako je razvijaju, tako isto i što se tiče psihološke pripreme i zato kako nekom treba da godine i godine rada da se usavrši tehnički, taktički, tako će sigurno trebati vrijeme i za psihološku pripremu. Psihološka priprema nisu trikovi i riječi u pravom trenutku, to je puno kompleksniji
process.
Yeah.
Okay, psychological preparation is a complex process and it's learned like you are learning technical and tactical skills. That it's a training that needs time and needs planning. So the psychological preparation isn't one trick or one word that you can say to an athlete. It's something, it's a skill and a set of abilities that you are learning through time that make you more mentally prepared for the challenges.
Ideja cijele psihološke pripreme je da ona povećava vjerojatnost.
Yeah.
Mi ne možemo ništa sa sigurnošću tvrditi, kao što ne može nijedan tehničko-taktički trener tvrditi da će sad, kad sportaš nešto nauči, on će sigurno pobijediti. Mi u stvari svi koji radimo sa sportašem samo povećavamo vjerojatnost.
Yes. Psychological preparation is something that heightens probability of success. Yes, it's like even like technical tactical things. We can't say that if you are learn these things that you are going to be better, but we are increasing the probability with the psychological preparation that you will be better in the game. So,
Kathleen is the next one.
Okay.
Kathleen? Do you have some specific methods for kids? How to calm them before important match? Not to cry, not to scream.
That's why zato ja ne radim s djecom.
Amir said that's why I don't work with kids.
Ali ja imam neke kolegice koje su isto sportski psiholozi koji baš radi sa djecom i onda ja u stvari preporučim svoje te male sportaše koji dođu da idu raditi sa sportskim psiholozima ili dječjim psiholozima koji su im primjereni.
Okay,
Ti si
okay. Amir has these colleagues that work with children that are psychologists that like to work with children. So when the young athlete comes to him, he sends them to this psychologist. I'm a child psychologist, so I can help you. But the most important thing is that they enjoy the sports they are doing. So the competition should be something that they enjoy it, and you should try to make competition something that is great, that is party, that is something to have fun, that doesn't depend on what the result is, because especially when the athletes are that young, the most important thing is that they feel good in the activity, in that sport that they are doing. So it would be then your main goals is that they enjoy in that situation.
Često se dogodi da u stvari reakcije djeteta su na osnovu reakcija roditelja i dijete u stvari i može nekad plaće ili vrište ili nije zadovoljno zato što ne može udovoljiti zahtjevima roditelja, ne zato što ne može udovoljiti unutar tog sporta. A onda preko sporta u stvari zadržava ljubav roditelja.
Sometimes the children's reactions are based on parents' reactions, ambitions, yes. So you have to think about that also. What the parent told that young athlete and what he's expecting of that children. The screaming and the crying is probably affected and the result of what parents told children, what they should be.
Not always, but
yeah.
great probability.
Next one from Andorra.
What percentage do
Quite related to the Kathleen's question.
Okay, what percentage do you think would be suitable for children under 12 to work on the psychological side? It's necessary to give a lot of importance to this age group. Yes. Yeah. Koliki postotak?
Što, koliki postotak?
Koliko psihološke pripreme bi bilo dobro da se...
Kad ja ne volim raditi sa djecom.
Amir doesn't like to work with kids. I like to work with kids, and my opinion is that it would be like once a week would be something that's okay. Yes, but when you are working with children, you have to parallelly working with parents. That would be good. So we have some practice that after 3 sessions with sports psychologists, 1 session.
It's okay now.
The sports psychologists of young athletes have this I don't know, process where when we work with children, we have through 3 trainings or sessions with child or young athlete, and then 1 session with a parent. So
možda da samo ja kažem, ja ne da ne volim raditi sa djecom, nego način na koji ja radim uključuje dosta apstraktnog nekog mišljenja, a djeca dosta razmišljaju konkretno i onda tu ja ne griješim puno, ali možda neću doprinijeti koliko neko ko je vještik.
Okay, Amir told me that it isn't that he doesn't like working with children, but that he, in his work, uses these abstract things, and young athletes needs these concrete things when you are working with them. So he thinks that his work with these young athletes wouldn't be that effective as it would be to work with someone that that works with young athletes and works more concrete.
Mehman Samedov, next one.
Okay.
What age children should start to join match? If they lose, it does not affect their psychology. Aha, kad bi trebali početi igrat meč da njihov gubitak ne utječe na psihologiju?
To je opet o djeci, opet ne znam prave odgovore. Mnogi tjeraju
ali
djecu.
Ovisi o okolini.
To sam htio reći, da. Ovisi o tome kako okolina doživljava meč. Dakle, ono što je najbitnije kako treneri ili roditelji reagiraju na pobjede ili na poraze. Ako reagiraju uvijek isto, onda mogu igrati kad god. A ako reagiraju drugačije, onda se djeca u stvari bore za ljubav trenera ili roditelja. I onda nisu zadovoljni sobom što ne udovoljavaju toj ljubavi za koju misle da će izgubiti ako izgube meč.
Okay. Children's reactions to loss are dependent on what are the reactions of adults around him. So they want to be loved. The children want to be loved by their coaches and their parents. So if coaches and parents are behaving the same, no matter if a young athlete loses or he wins, that would not have a psychological impact on that young athlete. But if parent screams at children if he loses, or if he makes mistake, or coach is angry at a young player when he loses, then that would affect his psychological state.
Yes. Even not verbal reactions, not just verbal reactions.
Not just what you say and how you behave, and non-verbally.
One more question from Mehman Samedov.
According to me, if child is mentally ready to play, it means that he is ready. Tactics, psychological strategy.
Pa, ne znam kako to je.
Okay. Tu ima ono sa 15 godina.
Što?
Da prije 15. godine se ne bi trebalo zvati sport nego elementi.
Aha,
Zato
dobro.
što kognitivno
Ne znam,
nije
možda,
dovoljno razvijeno.
možda.
Evo, to ja znam.
To ti je.
Okay. Your answers are related to something that I do. So this is my answer, not Amir's. In the psychology of sports, we believe that before the 15 years, the sport shouldn't be called the sport. Like, you shouldn't be tell that you are training table tennis. You are training the elements of table tennis, because before the 15 years of age, the cognition of young athletes, most of them, they aren't that developed to understand the strategic points of sports. So yes, some young athletes are more developed or earlier developed, so they can understand this strategic thing, the strategic side of the sport. But before the 15 years, you can only talk about elements of sport.
Dmitry Sekurov.
How important is it to teach your athletes to exert psychological pressure on the athlete, and what tool do you allocate for this?
Što bi to značilo?
Kako da nadiđu psihološki?
Pa to, mislim, da.
Enjoying.
Da, ono pojednostavljeno rečeno smo to malo objasnili, a sad sigurno zahtijeva i nekakva šira objašnjenja koja možda zahtijevaju i novi webinar.
Okay, this is a very complex question, because it depends on lots of things. In our lecture, we said something about that. That is, you need to train or learn your athlete how to enjoy the uncertainty, and maybe this is a great subject for another webinar, because that's so complex. That's the main goal of psychological preparation, is it? Yeah, I think.
Okay,
So.
and the last question from our friend Samet Polat, please.
Be a good way to give reinforcement to the players, especially young ones. Would this contribute to the focus and concentration? How should we set a balance for giving reinforcement?
Kao neka povratna informacija.
Reinforcement, znači
kao
nagrada.
podrška. Aha, nagrada.
Potkrepljenje.
Potkrepljenje. Da, svakako bitno, opet je bitno da li su one verbalne, neverbalne, socijalne, kao socijalni kontakti, ili su zaista nagrade kao čokolada ili novac ili tako, pa
No.
znači da li tu potkrepljujemo nekakve motive koji su unutarnji ili vanjski. I da, to mislim, to na duge staze će nam se činiti oportuno da nagrađujemo sa nekakvim poklonima, ali na duge staze onda stvaramo podlogu za veći pritisak, jer će onda biti stalno usmjereni na nagradu, a ne na ono što rade.
On the result.
Da.
Okay. So, yes, it is very important to reinforce young players when they win or get a result, but everything in psychology is but. You have to think about what do you want to reinforce and what kind of price you want to get, or how to reward your player. On the long run, it wouldn't be that smart to give presents like chocolate or anything like that, because then you are train them to work for a reward or to be focused on the outcome. Yeah, and that is something that's not that good for sports.
I nagrađivati u stvari pokret ili potez, ne dobiven poen ili rezultat.
You should reinforce the process, the way he plays, the backhand, for example, not the final result. That would be much effective. and psychologically a better thing to reinforce. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
Thank you so much. So we will finish with that. So before I will give the podium to my friend Samet Pola to conclude the session, I just want to say from my side that this was fantastic presentation. I knew it what I expect from Amir, but I didn't know what I can expect from you. So it was marvelous. It was really fantastic. Thank you so much for. We spent more than 2 months preparing this webinar, and at the moment I can say that I will try to repeat one more session with this nice couple. So in next few months you can expect my next invitation. Maybe the topic should be related to the controlling the stress and maybe to increase the level of concentration, especially devoted to the practice and to the competition. But this we'll discuss in next weeks and months. Thank you so much for everything you did for this webinar. And I will give the podium at the end to Samet and to you as well, if you have something to add. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for a great work. It was really impressive. Your lecture was really very well prepared, and we could understand all the content, and all the questions were answered really very clearly. So I'm happy to be a part of this work. And for our participants, I would like to announce one thing. We are recording this session and we will share with you after the session via Google Cloud system. So that's all from me. I'd like to thank everyone, and really glad to see some positive messages from the chat part. Thank you. Dear Ivana and Amir. Dear Ivana and Amir, would you like to add anything, or shall we slowly?
Ja se zahvaljujem i Ivana vjerojatno što smo imali prilike u stvari podijeliti neka naša iskustva kao sportski psiholozi sa svima koji su zainteresirani za stolni tenis, i nadamo se da ste nešto naučili, a možda ćete imati priliku opet nas vidjeti.
Yeah. We would like to thank you all for participating in this webinar, and we are very happy that we could share our views and our knowledge with you, and hope that you have learned something and that we are going to see you maybe in next webinar. So thank you all.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. So at the end, just information that very soon we will publish the link, record the link from the session to all of them which couldn't, from any reasons, participate in that webinar. So it will be published on the ETTU Development link. Also, I want to tell you that our next meeting will be soon announced. We will have one great expert, from my point of view, one of the best European coaches. Peter Engel will have presentation. In next 10-15 days, I will announce exactly the date of the next webinar. And so until that time, I hope, I wish you that you stay safe and healthy. And until our next webinar, see you next time. All the best. Thank you so much for everyone.
So hope you a great day. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.